The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Susan Sweeney, one of the deans at eLearningU, and I'd like to welcome you to today's program, Using Domain Authority to Improve Your DMO's Website Results. For anybody that's new on the call, we go for about 50 minutes of great content, and then we have about 10 minutes of Q&A. We do our Q&A one of two ways. You can type your question in the question area as we go along, and I will read those questions out to our expert, Robin O'Neill-Smith, today. Alternatively, if you'd like to speak directly to Robin to get your question answered, just wait till we're in the Q&A time period, and then on your control panel, click on that little hand symbol. It lights up on my screen, waves at me, and says, "Hey, I want to talk to Robin." So I will give you a little heads up. I will call you by your first name, and then I will unmute you. You speak away to Robin to get your question answered. Robin will answer your question. Everybody can hear the question. Everybody can hear the answer. And once your question's been answered to your satisfaction, we'll then move on to the next question. Robin has provided us with a handout here today. So you can go into that handouts area and drag and drop or save file as and get a copy, PDF of today's presentation. And Robin has another handout that she'll give you the address at the end of the program or towards the end of the program, a very valuable handout today. And so now we'll get into our intro. Robin Smith is a writer and virtual expert specializing in audio and video editing. Robin has been helping individuals and groups tackle technology, social media, and blogging for years. As a teacher, technology director, and then CIO of a school district, she has taught technology, marketing, and social media classes for high school, graduate students, and adults. Robin holds a master's degree from Shippensburg University in business education and an instructional technology specialist certificate from Penn State University. Robin loves to travel. In the past year, she's visited 12 states, Canada, Mexico, and the Cayman Islands. Robin is an active social networker, a foodie, and she loves the touch of adventure. She blogs about travel and food on her site, robinoneillsmith.com, and about blogging and social media at expertcontentcreation.com. Robin, so happy to have you back with us. You're always such a wealth of information, and we're really looking forward to today's program.
Thank you, Susan. So we're going to get on with the topic of domain authority. When I visited last time with you, this subject was brought up and quite a few people had questions. So I thought it might be something that we needed to revisit. So what you are going to learn during this presentation is what is domain authority, how is domain authority scored, where you can find your own domain authority score, what caused a change in your domain authority if you know your score and it's now different, and how you can improve your domain authority, and some general SEO and domain authority tips. And this will help you and your site with domain authority as well as improving your SEO. So, what is domain authority? The definition of domain authority is basically it means how much your site is likely to rank higher in search engines compared to a competitor's site. It's not a finite number. It fluctuates, it changes, and many things can cause those changes. Now, the score is based on dozens of factors in its calculations. The actual domain authority calculation itself uses a machine learning model to predictively find a best fit algorithm that closely correlates with your link data, and then it runs that across thousands of searches and uses it as a standard to measure your site against. The score ranges from 0 to 100. If you have a newer site, you're going to be at 0, 1, 2. If you have a site that's been there a while, your number will start to creep up. Higher scores correspond to a greater ability to rank. And I just want to clarify, this isn't the score of where you will rank. That is your SERP score. It's not that. This is the corresponding score to your ability to rank. So once the machines calculate and find this score, then it is used when comparing to other websites to rank, to track your ranking strength over time. And I just want to make sure everybody understands this is not the metric used by Google to determining where your search rank is. Okay, it has no effect on the actual number where you rank, whether you rank 1, 2, or 3 when people search for sites. But it is a comparison score. It fluctuates, it has different data points, and the domain authority score does count towards your score for ranking, but it is not the actual number of where you will rank. It's a little bit confusing, I know, but the big thing to remember is it is a comparison score. Sometimes it will change not by something you do, but by what somebody else might do with their site. And the difference between search ranking on Google and domain authority is the search ranking, your SERP score, that tells you where you rank. Exactly. You're either in position 1, position 5, position 100 in the Google ranking. The domain authority score gives you your ability to rank in comparison, how you will rank in comparison to a site that is similar to yours and using the same type of keywords or the same demographics. So, how is this scored? Well, the calculation, it uses a lot of points. It's a 100-point logarithmic scale. And the good thing to know is if you have a low score, it's easier to increase your score when you're starting low than it is if you have a very high score. If you have a high score of, say, 70, it's going to be very difficult for you to move up to 80 because all the other people with those 70 scores are also trying to move up to 80. So it's a comparison score. And you might say, what is a good score? Well, a good score, generally speaking, it has to be a comparison to what other sites. So you're not going to know if your site has a good score or a bad score until you look at what you're comparing yourself to. To give you an example of some good scores, like Google, that's a big site. It has a domain authority of 95. Now, I doubt that very many are going to get close to that 95. Travel Zoo, it has a domain authority of 85. So those are some of the big numbers that people, might be trying to reach. But it's comparative. Like if I look at where I live in central Pennsylvania. I live right on the border of 2 counties. So the county to the east of me would be Huntington County, and their site has a number of 41. Their domain authority score is 41. Bedford County, that is to the west of me, their domain authority score is 39. So when they're comparing, they're pretty close if they compare to each other. Now they are very similar in many ways, so they would be a pretty good comparison. Now, what would I do with those scores? Well, as a writer, when I'm looking to go visit places or to write about them, the location's domain authority score could be of benefit to me if they would have a very high score. And if I'm looking at 2 different places, the one with a higher score could give me better links to help my domain authority if I was so minded to write for that reason only. So it's a comparative score. So you would want to, if you're comparing yourself, like who is your competitor that's sort of equal to you, to know if you are doing better or worse with them in your ability to compare on this domain authority score. Now, sites with large, high number quality external links coming back to their site, like say links from Google or links from Wikipedia that would come to you because they are a high ranking site, that would improve your domain authority somewhat. So your score comes from so many different things. It's hard to determine what will increase or decrease your score, but we are going to give you a few tips. But the important thing is to remember that this is a comparative score, and people are going to look at this score for different reasons. And we have the domain authority score and the page authority score. Now, domain authority means exactly what it says. It's your entire domain, your whole website, the score that they give to that whole site. Your page authority score is just dependent on a single page of your site. Now, my domain authority score might be one number, and one page on my site might have a much higher or lower number. So overall, we are talking about domain authority in this presentation, but there is a difference, and they could be very different in numbers. So do you need to be concerned? Well, that depends. Are you comparing your destination to somebody else? And how much does that matter? Only you can answer that. One of the things that might matter to you about a domain authority score is when you're having visitors come to you and write about your destination or write about someplace near you, or if you have an influencer or a writer, photographer coming and they are going to publish the work, you want to know where that's going to be published. Is it just their site? If it is, then what is their domain authority? If they are publishing to another site, then what is that site's domain authority? Because you're going to get links back from that site to your site that may improve your own domain authority. Now I'm going to give you an example. I write for Travel Awaits, and they have a domain authority score of 53. So if I go somewhere and I write about that destination and it is published on Travel Awaits, their domain authority of 53 will give juice to the site that I'm writing about. Even if that site has a higher domain authority, they'll still get juice from it. But if your site would have a lower domain authority and it's published on Travel Awaits, then you would get stronger juice coming back towards your domain authority. So you might also be concerned, if you see a competitor that is having a lot of people write about them and not writing about you, that's going to increase your competitor's domain authority. So where can you find your domain authority score? A lot of people ask this. The one thing I want to point out before I tell you where you can go to find that is, do not pay for this. It is available free of charge. There are several sites, probably a lot more than I'm going to mention, that offer it free of charge. Some people want you to pay for this, but it is available free. So Moz was sort of the creator of this, And when you get your handout at the end, I have the URL of 4 different places where you can get this for free on the handout. But Moz was the original creator, so they have several places on their site where you can get your domain authority score at no cost. They also have several paid versions too. Website SEO Checker also has a free version. SEO Review Tools also has a free version. And there is Ahrefs Keyword Explorer. It has an analysis section that gives you your domain authority score. And if you have purchased anything that deals with metrics for your site, it very well may give you your domain authority score right in that platform. But if you haven't already purchased that for something else, do not buy a metrics for this particular thing, because it is available for free. So say you know your domain score and you go to check it again and you see that there is a significant change in the score. You're going to start wondering what caused the change. Did I do something wrong? Why I wanted my score to increase, not decrease, etc. Well, it fluctuates. It isn't a once and done number, and there are quite a few possible reasons. So the biggest thing to remember is it's not a once and done number. Because it's comparative and comprised of multiple metrics and calculations, the change could be caused by the fact that your link growth hasn't grown as fast as your competitors, or it hasn't been indexed, your link growth hasn't been indexed. If you get a whole bunch of links at the end of the month and it hasn't been indexed, it might not show up till the next month. It depends how often they are indexing. Maybe you got a lot of links, but they weren't from places that contribute to your domain authority ranking, or they are very low ranking sites. All of these things could contribute. Perhaps your site was crawled less times or didn't crawl as much of your site, and so therefore it didn't pick up the new links. If you're on the lower end of the scoring for domain authority, any change or fluctuation will have more impact on your site. So a good example of this would be, say Facebook got thousands, billions of new links back to them, and you didn't get any. The whole everybody that is ranking will go down a little bit if Facebook jumps a whole bunch, because it's comparative. It compares to everything. And so anybody moving up very fast can cancel out somebody else who's moving up just a little bit. So the important thing is just to keep plugging forward and realize that your score is going to fluctuate, and it's not the end of the world if your score goes up or down a little bit. Now, why would you even want to worry about this if you can't control a lot of it? Well, there are a lot of positive side effects to having a decent domain authority score. You get better search engine visibility, and we all know that if the search engines find you and make you visible, then you're going to get more traffic. And that more traffic leads to more exposure, more brand awareness for your destination. And then, you get more chances for people to share on social media and talk about you, give you natural link backs in their writing. So those are all reasons why domain authority is something out there that we need to know about, but it's not the only thing you have to worry about. Good SEO is important, and your domain authority contributes to your SEO. So in my mind, SEO is at the top thing we need to worry about, and our domain authority is just one of the things that helps build our SEO. How can you improve your domain authority score? Well, remembering that it's comparative and you cannot control what the people you are being compared to. You can't control what they are doing, how many people write about them, how many people give them link backs, promote them. You can only control your own site and what you are doing there. So improving your general SEO will help to improve your domain authority. It's difficult to influence domain authority directly, but we know it's made up of an aggregate of metrics and that your link data has an impact. So the more quality links back to your site, the better, and the more your domain authority will increase. So if it's dependent on the link backs pointing to your site, what will help your domain authority the most is to acquire those links from sites, especially sites that have a higher domain authority than what you currently have. So the best way to influence your domain authority metric is to get more links and improve your overall SEO. And how do you get more links? Well, PR gets you links. Having people come to visit you and write about your site gets you links. Social media helps to promote and get you links back. There are a variety of things you can do. So, and budgets, you don't all have a large budget. So only you can determine how much you can spend to bring people to your site, to write about your site, that type of thing. But you can do a lot to influence your SEO. So we're going to go over a few of the general tips, and these tips not only help your domain authority, but they are going to help your general SEO. And I've divided these into two different categories: the technical tips that involve the back end of your site and the writing and content tips. So they're divided into two different categories depending on how technical you are or how many people you have working for you in your office or working on your website. Different people may handle these for you. So the first one is keep your theme and plugins updated. When I help people with their sites, you would be surprised how many people do not update their theme or the plugins. And if you don't have these updated, it allows space, room, a place for hackers to get into your site. And it also, Google notices that you're not updating, you're not staying up to date. So that is very important. And you should try to make sure that your theme is responsive, since most of the people out there now are viewing on multiple devices. They'll look at it on a desktop, a tablet, a mobile device. So you need to make sure that it's responsive. Fix any broken links that you have. If you have broken links, the first time Google sees or the search engines see a broken link, they say, oh, a broken link. The second time they come around, here's this broken link again. Nobody fixed it. The third time they come around, they start to think, did they abandon this site? Is anybody going to fix this? And the fourth time they come around, well, I think this isn't an important site anymore. I don't think that we need to worry about this site because they have broken links. So the more broken links you have, the less Google is going to send traffic to your site. So it's really important that you fix those broken links. And there are several plugins that will tell you whether you have broken links. WordFence is the one that I use and recommend. It is free. They have a paid version also, but the free version tells you if you have broken links. And that is included on the handout at the end. You want to block spam comments. Spam comments can fill your site, slow it down. Google can see if all you're getting is spam and it's sitting there for a long period of time, they notice that. So block those spam comments. A plugin that I use to do this is Askamet, and that is included on the handout also. And you have a choice when you set that up. Do you want to put the spam comments into a certain file so that you can review them, or do you just want them to go straight to the trash? I send them straight to the trash, but that's up to you. Speed. How fast is your site? If your site loads in 1 to 3 seconds, that's considered excellent. If it takes longer than 15 seconds, then Google starts to see that as an issue. And when I say Google, I'm talking about search engines in general, but Google is the most popular. So you want to increase your speed. And I'll be very honest here, speed is something that sometimes you do not have the control over. You can control how fast photos load, and we're going to touch on that a little bit later. But your hosting site controls a lot regarding speed. So if you are continuously slow, you might want to talk to your host, see if they can do something to help speed it up. You know, they put thousands of sites on one server. So if another site is extremely popular, it could be slowing your site down. So you may need to switch hosting, but speed is something you need to be very concerned about if it's slow. So you need to maintain a clean, user-friendly site structure. As few clicks as possible to find the information people are hunting for. I was on a site the other day and I was hunting for something and I had to go through like 15 clicks and I still hadn't found what I was looking for, and they had no search bar. So it was like, this isn't worth it. I'm going to go to another site. So as clean of a structure as you can have that people can find your most popular content with as few clicks as possible is the way to go. And please have a search bar. It doesn't have to be at the top. You can put it at the bottom, but have some place that if I'm searching for a beach, I can type in beach and find what you have on your site about beach. Or if it is resorts, spas, whatever. Sometimes you might think it's very easy to find, but have somebody that doesn't use your site all the time look at it. Often it's hidden and people can't find what they're looking for. And please be aware that mobile users like to scroll. So they are much more likely to look at a long page of content that they can scroll as comparison to something they need to click. You know, if they have to click several times on their phone, they're not happy. They want to scroll. So that's something to consider as, you know, you maintain your site. Site indexing. Site indexing is what the search engines use to look at your site. If your site's indexed, then they crawl your site and they find all the links and everything, and they determine your ranking. So it's good to make sure that your site is being indexed. And what I have found as I've helped people with their websites, a lot of people, there is a setting in your WordPress dashboard where you can say, do not index this site. And many people click that while they're building their site because they want to have everything perfect before it starts to be indexed, and they forget to take that check mark out. And so if Google is not indexing your site, then Google's not going to find your site, and the search engines, you just aren't going to exist to them. So it's really important that you have that check mark removed in your WordPress dashboard. The other thing that is important with this is that sometimes there's robot text in your WordPress site that tells the search engines to search. And sometimes something gets placed into the code that says, stop the robot text. And if that happens, Google will index your site till it gets to that spot, and then it stops. And so half of your site or all of your site might not be indexed. And if it's not being indexed, then your domain authority is going to go down the tubes and your SEO is going to go down the tubes. So you need to make sure that that isn't there. If it's there, get help from your host or from somebody that knows a little bit about technology to remove that robot text signal that's put in there. And who knows how it gets in there. It could have gotten there from a plugin. It could have gotten there from somebody else that worked on your site. There's a variety of reasons why it could be there, but the important thing is to remove it so that your site can be indexed. And if you have something like that and you remove it, or if you're setting up a new site, you need to make sure that they're reading your entire site, the search engines. So you would use an XML sitemap to make sure that Google is seeing your entire site. Now, in the handout, I have a picture of a sitemap, and I also have a picture of where you go to get your XML sitemap. It's in WordPress. It's on your site if you're using Yoast, and you can get that. It only takes like 2 minutes to get that. You upload it to Google. Google automatically starts searching your site then, and it's taken care of. So that information is in the handout as well. And I just talked about Yoast. That's an SEO plugin, and there are a variety of them you can use. I use Yoast, and it does a number of things. It gives you your XML sitemap. It also tells you when you're posting whether your page or your post is SEO friendly. Is it easily read by the search engines and by people? So there's a number of things that this plugin does. It is a free plugin again. If you notice, I use a lot of things that are free. There's no sense spending money if you don't have to. Text-based permalinks. A permalink is the URL from a specific blog post or page on your website that you share on social media or share with your readers if you want them to go to a specific post to read that. When you post something, if that permalink is your website name and then number 965, that's going to hurt your SEO. Your permalinks need to be text-based, and there is a setting in your WordPress setup that you can click to make it the name of the title of your blog post or the title of the page. And I have a picture of that in the handout as well as what you need to click in order to make that happen. And another technical tip, and this is a writing tip as well, is use variations of your main keywords. In November, Google came out with some significant changes in SEO that they use, and one of them was prior to November, if you were using the same search engine on different pages on your site, each one of those different pages could rank for that keyword. So for instance, I'm just going to use a site, say Travel Awaits. If Travel Awaits had 4 different articles about Glenwood Springs, then all 4 of those articles could have ranked for that keyword, and it could have been 1, 2, 3, 4 if they would have had, enough SEO for them. But what changed in November is they will only show the top ranking post for that particular keyword. So if your keyword is Glenwood Springs, then whatever post you had that was about Glenwood Springs, that would be the highest ranking one. That is what they would show. All the others they erase. So you need to use variations of your main keywords. Example could be Glenwood Springs Hot Springs, Glenwood Hot Springs, Glenwood Springs restaurants, Glenwood Springs spas, Glenwood Springs health and wellness, Glenwood Springs activities, Glenwood Springs hotels. You can still use your main keyword, but you need to use a variation, add something to it to make it a longer keyword so that you have more chances of ranking all of your pages into Google and other search engines. And if you are using the Yoast SEO plugin, it will give you that information. It'll come up and give you a warning that you have used this keyword in another post. Okay, so now we're to the writing and the publishing tips. And these are the ones, if you have somebody else taking care of your technology, you may be able to give them the list and let them handle that part. But the writing and publishing, maybe that is your domain, so we will talk about that. You need to create good headlines using keywords. And there is a program, it's Headline Analyzer by CoSchedule. And you can use it for free. You have to sign up, but you can use it for free. And it will tell you, it will give you a number for your headline. Now, you want to try to find a number that's above 50 and preferably above 70. Because the higher you're scoring on these analyzers, the higher ranking it will be when it's published for SEO and domain authority. These keywords, these headlines are sometimes difficult to come up with. And I will be honest, I have a client who will only accept headlines of 70 or above in all her posts. And sometimes I spend a half hour trying to get the right headline that has a score of 70 or above. So, it does take a little bit of time, but it does help you with your keyword ranking if you have great headlines. This one's one that hurts. Search engines like long content, and they like quality content. 2,000 plus words is a lot. I rarely have that many words in a post. I try to aim for 600 to 1,500. But those posts that have 2,000 plus words do usually rank higher than other posts. But the most important thing is that it's quality content. So, however many words it takes of quality content to describe your site, your destination, the activity that you're promoting, whatever. That's how many words you use. Don't stuff it with just extra words, but just know that the search engines like long content. Optimize your images. This is an important one that many people forget. They throw their pictures up there, they look beautiful. One or two, it's not a problem, but after a long period of time, if you have big pictures up there, it's going to slow your site down. So you need to optimize those images and reduce the size. Now, if you try to take a picture and reduce everyone, it's going to take you forever. So there is a plugin that does this for you. Again, this is a free plugin. It's called Smush. And you put it on your site, and then every picture that you upload, it smushes it. When you look at the picture, you do not know the difference, but it has optimized the picture by reducing the size of the format of the picture so that it still looks good on the web, but the contents has sort of been smushed on the back end. If you have a lot of pictures on your site and you haven't been using a tool like this, just know that when you load this, it will ask you if you want to smush the pictures that you already have on your site. If you do, the free version allows you to smush 50 pictures at a time. So you might want to say, okay, every Friday I'm going to go in and I'm going to smush 100 pictures, and just until you get them all done, because it takes a while to do it 50 at a time. Now, if you want to pay money, you can smush them all at once. But most people, they'll just smush a couple every time they're in there. Before long, they have them all done. But everything that you put on from the time you load Smush, after that, it automatically takes care of those pictures. The other thing that's really important is that you use alt tags. And this is important for a couple of reasons. Alt tags, if you have somebody that is visually impaired, when their machine readers are reading the content to them, when it comes to a picture, it doesn't know what that picture is unless you have an alt tag. When you have an alt tag describing the picture, then it can read that to the person. And this isn't just to be nice, it is a law that you have to do this on websites. So just know that you need to have alt tags on there, and it also helps the crawlers when they crawl your sites. If you have an alt tag that matches the keyword, it recognizes that and gives you SEO juice. Use related links in content. As you're writing about something, if there is a natural link to something else, some other piece of content you already have on your website, link to it. Maybe the reader will click on it and go there, maybe they won't, but it's usually a way to get people to stay on your page, go to another site and read something else. But Google and the search engines also notice this, and that helps your SEO if you have related links in your content. And we've talked a lot about the search engines, and they are important. We're trying to increase our search engine optimization, our domain authority, but you're writing for humans to read. And so that needs to be the priority of your writing. Just know that the search engines will crawl each and every word that you put on there, hunting for keywords and going through your content. So I write the article for humans, and then I go back through and see if there's any place that I can add the words that the search engines are looking for. So if I can't add them so that it reads naturally, then I don't add them. But if I can add that, then I do. But just know you want to write for humans. You want humans to come to your site and say, oh, I love this information. This is just what I was looking for. I want to go visit this place because of what is written here. That is the main goal. But the search engines are crawling your site and your SEO matters. So if you can help that along, we will. Another important thing is publishing consistently. It is more, Google likes it better if you publish once a week, every Tuesday, every Wednesday, whatever day you pick, in comparison to publishing twice a week but being inconsistent. You know, if I publish Monday and Wednesday one week, Tuesday and Thursday the next, Wednesday and Friday the following week, it just confuses the search engines. If you're published every Tuesday after or every Wednesday after, you know, the first, second, third time, Google says, oh, they publish on Tuesday. So on Tuesday, they're already and excited to crawl your site to index that latest published post. And if you miss a week, oh, Google's wondering what happened. And you miss two, then they consider it inconsistent and they don't crawl your site as often. So it's important to know that publishing consistently, whatever works for you, if it's every other week, every week on the same day, that is the optimum thing you want compared to just haphazardly posting. And many times we worry about publishing, but we forget to promote what we've published. And we need to make content promotion a daily habit if we want to have good SEO and domain authority. If you promote it, other people see it, other people help to promote it, and it gets the ball rolling, and before you know it, lots of people are seeing your stuff. But it has to become a habit. So put it on your calendars, assign it to an intern, assign it to a secretary, assign it to, you know, the person in charge of media relations, whatever. But make sure that it's being done. It doesn't have to be new information. It doesn't have to be a new post every day. You can go back and post something evergreen content from a year ago, 2 years ago. You know, an event's coming up. Oh, here's some pictures of this event 2 years ago. Look what happened. Look at the fun people were having, you know, whatever. But you need to promote what is on your site, get your name out there. And make sure you have social media sharing buttons on your site so that people can promote. Yes, they can copy the address, the URL, the permalink, and they can paste it. But how many people are going to take the time to do that when they want a link that they can just click and share? So make it easy for them. So there are a lot more things that we could discuss to improve your SEO and your domain authority. But these are highlights. These are things, quick and easy things that can be done for no money and can make a difference for you. You can do some of these this afternoon if you wanted to. So that was my goal, was to give you some tips and ideas of things that could improve SEO and domain authority with a minimum of time and zero funds spent. So you can get a free copy of the list of these tips and then pictures of how the settings should look on your website and some more detail about each of the tips. This is the URL, expertcontentcreation.com/domain authority tips. So if you want that, it is there. If you have, you know, once you receive that, if you have questions regarding that, feel free to reach out to me. Here's my contact information. And now I think it's time for questions. If anybody has any questions, I'm going to turn things back to Susan for the
Very well.
Q&A.
Thanks so much. Great presentation. Lots of fabulous content in there. Do you want to put up that last slide so they've got all your contact information? There you go. Make sure, and you also have the ability to drag and drop that the PDF of this presentation so that you have the address to get that handout. Okay, for anybody that joined us late, we do our questions one of two ways. You can type your question in the question area and I'll read those out to Robin. Alternatively, if you'd like to speak directly to Robin, just click on that little hand symbol on your screen. It lights up on my side and I'll call you by your first name, unmute you, talk to Robin, get your question answered. Everybody can hear the question, everybody can hear the answer. And once your question's been answered to your satisfaction, I will then mute you again. Next week, destination marketing with video. Are you doing it right? Make sure that you attend that session. Okay, so let's get into our questions. The first one is, how important is domain authority for Google SEO ranking?
It is completely comparative, so I can't really tell you exactly, how important it is. It all depends on what the sites you're being compared to, what their domain authority is. So, your site is being indexed and domain authority is one of the items that is in the calculation to determine your SEO. So the larger a site is, I would say the more important the domain authority will matter.
Okay. Next question, is there a tool for writing headlines using keywords?
Yes, there is. The tool I mentioned is called Headline Analyzer, and it is by CoSchedule.
Okay. Next question is, you gave a number of things to do to improve SEO and domain authority. I'm limited on time. What one thing can I do to improve them?
Well, the one thing that I think you could do is your site is being indexed for SEO, and so if you could use the Yoast plugin, it hits a number of the items at one time, and I think it would help you the most for improving things on your site that you're writing, any posts or any pages that you're putting up. And that will improve your SEO in general. And the thing that I think improves domain authority the most is getting additional quality high domain links back to your site. So have somebody write about your site that can link back, that is being published somewhere with a good domain authority.
Okay. The next one is, so if I understood you correctly, if I improve my SEO, it will help my domain authority. And if my domain authority improves, it will help my SEO. So they both help each other?
Yes, both help each other. If you have good SEO, it helps to increase your domain authority, and your domain authority is one of the metrics that is incorporated into your SERP score, which determines where you rank on Google. So they help each other.
Okay. Next question is, where do I find people who can help do the technical tasks you mentioned?
Well, there are virtual assistants who do that. Web design people handle a lot of those technical things. There are virtual experts out there like myself that are happy to, help people with those types of problems. You can go to Google and you can find, a number of people who might have specific skills if there's something specific, like if you want Google Analytics added to your site or something like that, you could search for that to find people. Blogger Bridge is a site that can help you find people, and it's a site that does use domain authority, that people can see what someone else's domain authority is when they're hunting for someone to write or to do something for them.
Okay. Next question is, you talked about using variations of keywords. For example, if the keyword you are focusing on is Toronto hotels, do you write variations of that term? I was also taught to focus on one term per article, not variations. Just looking for the best practices.
One term per article, correct, but you don't want multiple articles with that same keyword. You need to change the keyword if you're going to do a second article. An example would be, I was just in Barcelona. So if I wrote an overview of Barcelona, and my keyword is Barcelona, and I talk about just general things, the history of Barcelona, top places you should visit in Barcelona, a couple places to eat, a couple places to stay, that would be the Barcelona page. Then I write another article about Barcelona, but this one focuses on places to eat in Barcelona. And so it would maybe be Barcelona restaurants. And then I would focus, 12, 14 different restaurants in Barcelona. And then I would do another article on places to stay in Barcelona. And so that would be another keyword, long tail keyword. It's still using Barcelona, but it's adding something else to it so that it continues to give juice back to the original article and vice versa, and it's using a different keyword.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does, and I'm going to just add a little bit to that. So if you're focusing on Toronto hotels, besides your articles, your blogs, on your website as well, you will want to focus on different keywords related to Toronto hotels. So you might do kid-friendly Toronto hotels, downtown Toronto hotels, and then you've got that whole long tail. The longer the phrase, the more specific people are looking for. So think about those, because with the long tail, they're more ready to buy. They are ready to buy. So if they're looking for a kid-friendly downtown hotel close to the Eaton Center, that's a long tail keyword. But it's definitely somebody who knows that they're staying in downtown Toronto. They want it to be kid friendly, and they want to go to the Eaton Center. So think about the long tail keywords as well, because you're getting more of the people that are ready to make that buying decision and make that reservation. But again, different keywords on every single page on the website, as well as Robin mentioned. Change, and then you want to be consistent on that page with your SEO. So you want to repeat that definitely in your H1, in the page title, in the domain after the slash. So there are a number of places that you definitely want to have that, as well as in the text. Google's gotten a whole lot better at being smart. So, Toronto accommodations or Toronto, different words related to hotel. They're smart about that. But if you can have the exact same phrase that's being searched on, you're a whole lot better off. Okay, next question. What was Smush for, and is it free?
Smush is free. There is a paid version, but you don't need the paid version. Smush optimizes your photographs. It decreases the size on your website so that they do not take up as much room, but they still look good for the people viewing them. The free version allows you to smush any photos that you upload, and by contents of 50 per group, you can smush what is already on your site. When you have the paid version, it allows you to smush a whole bunch that are on your site at one time, more than 50. I think it allows you to do 500 at a time. But I use the free version. There's no need to pay that extra money.
Okay, great. I'm down to the last two questions. So if anybody has anything they'd like to have covered during the program, please get it in now. The next thing is, how important are links to domain authority?
Well, if you mean backlinks, they're very important to domain authority, because the more backlinks that you get back to your site, the more juice that gives to your domain authority. And if those backlinks happen to be from higher domains, that even is an added bonus. So you want to get as many backlinks as possible that are quality, and the higher the domain, the better for you.
And with those authority sites, it used to be, and I'm not sure if it still is, but it used to be links from .edu and .gov were considered worth a whole lot more. Is that still the case? Do you know, Robin?
Yes, I think it is still the case.
Okay.
But
and then
trying
also,
to get links back from them is not going to be easy.
sometimes it's they've got just lists of companies that provide specific services and things like that. And sometimes you've got like the tourism department in a state or in a province would be
Right.
the .gov site. So getting a link back from them probably wouldn't be as difficult as just kind of general sites.
Right. I have a friend who has a national park site, and she's visited all the national parks and written about each of them. And many of those national parks have linked back to her, and other government sites have linked because she has so much content. So in that case, it's really helped her. Yes.
And then Wikipedia, if you can get listed in Wikipedia with the link back to your site. So if your, hotel or attraction has cultural significance or historical significance or things like that, then getting listed and linked from Wikipedia, that would be a huge authority site, right?
Yes, extremely huge.
Yeah. Okay, and then the last question, unless we get one in real quick, is what's the difference between having a sitemap on your site and an XML sitemap?
I'm sorry, you cut out when you were asking the question. Could you repeat that?
Sure. What's the difference between having a sitemap on your site versus an XML sitemap?
The sitemap, if you have a sitemap on your site, I'm assuming you mean one that anybody who comes to your site can click on and view the sitemap. And that it's basically the same thing, except the way that it's formatted. And the XML sitemap is formatted in a way that quickly, when you put it in your Google Search Console, it quickly can index your site and search.
Great, and that means that every single page gets indexed, right?
Correct. It's like a instruction manual for the Google Search Console to know everything they're supposed to go and search.
Excellent. Well, that brings us to the end of our questions. Grab that presentation if you haven't already done so, because it's got the address for the handout, or you write it down from this particular slide. Thanks so much, Robin. Fantastic session as always. Really appreciate you providing this great content to the eLearningU attendees.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
And thanks everybody for attending, and we shall see you next week. Destination Marketing with Video. Are you doing it right? With Andrew Woods. Thanks so much. Have a great weekend. Thanks, Robin.
You're welcome. Goodbye.